That's the longest
I
minute.
know, I just said that. Okay. It's ready. It's 5 o'clock.
All right, Tiff, we're going to call the meeting to order. Tiff, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Present.
Councilwoman Rachele.
Present.
Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilman Harjo.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
Present, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for City Council meeting Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. We'll go down really quick to recognizing person in the audience. Would somebody like to get up and speak for 3 minutes? All right, we're going to go down. Oh, sorry. No, come on down. Come on down. Sorry. I looked up, looked down. Sorry.
I'm Crystal Moore. I'm here today to discuss the critical issue of TNR in our city, particularly concerning the growing population of abandoned and stray cats. These animals have been let down by humans, leading to significant welfare concerns and unfortunate outcomes, including abuse and even death. Our organization, Lost Paws, aims to address the situation by providing essential services such as vaccination, spaying, and neutering. Implementing TNR is crucial to controlling the cat population and preventing further suffering, while TNR is a proactive solution. The reality is that even without it, these cats remain in our community. I must ask, if TNR does not proceed, what measures will the city undertake to curb both the population growth and the abuse of these vulnerable animals? I appreciate the city's efforts in site feeding protocols for strays, but as a responsible citizen, I can't ignore their suffering. The persistence of this problem raises pressing questions about community involvement and accountability. Furthermore, why do we continue to see so many cats abandoned, and how many individuals have faced consequences for these actions? Lost Paws is not seeking financial contributions from taxpayers. We simply wish to raise awareness that these animals are victims of human neglect. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Crystal. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to run down to presentations. Oh, come on down, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening.
State
Your name?
please.
Sean Carr. TNR has people that are for it, against it. There's pros and cons to everything. Unfortunately, a balance is going to have to be maintained. I believe Councilman Harjo at one point brought up there were complaints in downtown of urine and feces and odors. If we find a balance where colonies or TNR is allowed in city limits, we have to make sure that there are regulations or some sort of oversight in place to ensure that the cats in these colonies are being provided for. Excuse me, I brought props. This is actually an example of what a proper, shelter would look like in a cat colony. You place it somewhere where it's not going to be exposed to the wind. You place some straw in it. The cat can stay dry. It can stay warm. These screenshots were taken from a Facebook post that show a colony here within city limits where the shelters don't look like this. I brought them for the city council to view. If you would, please,
Is this our
ma'am.
record? Or
Excuse me?
Do you want these back, or is this our record?
You can keep those. When we maintain that balance, I just want to make sure that public health considerations are taken into account, but also we make sure that they're being regulated so that the animals are cared for and comforted, not just running amok. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Hello, Tyler Merriman again, and just I love the T, I love the N part of it, but I guess my whole delineation is we're releasing stray wild animals into the neighborhoods again, and I agree with most of everything that what you're saying, and I guess where do we draw that line? Because my dog, she's spayed, so she cannot reproduce, she's vaccinated. And if we're going to say that it's okay for a cat, I mean, surely then I can just let my dog run free as well because it's meeting the same criteria. And that's the issue I'm having is we get stray cats in our backyard, doing what stray cats do with urine, feces, and everything else. It's like, well, why are we drawing a distinction between a cat Are we going to allow dogs to run free then? I guess it just seems, but I do agree, something needs to be done, obviously. But it's just the whole release part of it, and just to think that everybody's going to be okay when there's cat allergies and everything else is the part that I'm really struggling with. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, come on down.
I'm Casey Waddell, and I've lived here not yet 3 years. We just moved here from the East Coast, Pennsylvania, but we were raised in Boise, Idaho. I want to let you know we've lived in a lot of different places, as have many military people, and we have seen this TNR solution work. It works. And I know over time, it takes time for colonies, for their populations to go down. But I have a tremendous amount of admiration for this group that is trying to solve a problem that needs to be taken care of. One female cat in 7 years and her descendants can produce 420,000 kittens. We're talking, cats are extremely, they're like rabbits. They can populate very quickly, and it can become a real problem. So I think that as a citizen, I think that we should try to promote spay and neutering. That's a big one. We also need to support this group that is willing to do this service for our community, a tremendous service. About the release part, I've seen it happen in Ocracoke Island off the coast of North Carolina. They did the TNR program and it worked. The colonies start shrinking. You're reducing the amount of reproducible animals over time. And it really, really does work. So anyway, I just want to let you know I wholly support this group. And I think we need to do everything we can. If there's a law that is blocking their ability to do their job, I think we need to change the law and help them out. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Casey. Anybody else? Okay. We're gonna go down to presentations. Presentation by Rachele Klein of Republic Services.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Rachele Klein with Republic Services, and ironically, I didn't know TNR was on this, but I've managed a feral cat colony since 2012, and it's pretty successful. So, in the trash business, we get at the transfer stations, people dump dumpsters all the time, and moms jump into these big construction dumpsters to have their babies because they're kind of sheltered, and then they have them, and when we dump them on the transfer station floor, they get too big for the moms to get them out. So we get cats all the time, and we spay and neuter, and if they're little, we capture them and we get them to homes. And but we've had 12 cats now for the last probably 6 years, and when they're trapped, they notch their ears, so we know which ones have already been spayed or neutered, and we do feed the ones that are there, and actually it works. It was a little overwhelming at first, but we've had no more than 12 cats now at both our recycling center and our transfer station in Meridian for probably the last 6 or 7. So I don't know. I don't have an opinion. It just became my issue, and I've just managed these cats. Who knew? I was like big into cat management. But anyway, thank you for your work. It is tricky and sometimes scary. But anyway, just an aside. So anyway, thank you for having me today. I wanted to say I usually come once a year just to give you a state of the trash, and so I decided this year to print out the last 10 years. Which is good. Meridian Mountain Home has not changed much in 10 years. Like, people are still kind of generating the same amount of waste, and they're kind of the recycling looks like it's like dropping, but it's really not. It's the loss of some materials and the lightweighting of some. So like we used to see newspapers and magazines in the recycling bins all the time, and we really don't see that anymore. People have moved to electronic versions. Also, water bottles are so lightweight now, when you open them they spill, right? It's not like the heavy plastic water bottles that we used to see. So I wouldn't be intimidated saying like, oh, we're losing momentum on the recycling front just because we're seeing fewer pounds per household per month. We're just really seeing a reflection of like pop cans are lighter. If you pick up a soda can, it's lighter. Like they're just lightweighting materials so they can get more on a truck, more servings on a truck. So, so we'll probably continue to see that go down a little bit, but participation is still like in the high 90s. So that's a good sign. I went to highlight on here the annual donations, and I actually, looks like I deleted them. I had them printed off in this office here, and I noticed, so I'll send that over with that corrected. We are proud to be sponsors in this community, so we give a combination of cash donations and in-service donations. Things like we recently donated $1,000 to the Parks and Rec Department for programs that were underfunded. I don't know how it gets used, but you know, they know which programs need to be used, and we're happy to sponsor those. Beer Fest, things like that. We're happy to sponsor dumpsters for certain events and cash when their need arises and they need someone to kind of bridge that gap. So we're always happy to be here. And on other topics, I wanted to give you an update. We're still working to get the what we now renamed the Sawtooth Regional Landfill open. So some of you attended the open house, and thank you for that. We're still working. We have a hearing in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission Thursday night this week to present. We've had a couple open houses and got feedback from them. We've been working pretty diligently on our conditional use permit application. So our next step is Thursday in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then we'll be before the commissioners for a vote. So that should hopefully, if things go well, by the end of May, we will be able to start, we'll be able to own that site and start remediation work on that. So we're still plugging away on that. Also, a couple other things, glass recycling. We have a glass recycling drop site at the Bennett Road Transfer Station. It gets used a little bit. I don't think a lot of people know about it. So I talked to Councilman Harjo at the open house. If we find a site in town, I think it would be great. It just needs to be monitored, so we don't get people breaking glass or stacking glass outside of it. So if the city has an idea of a place, we had one at our office, but when we closed at night, people would leave like couches and chairs and all kinds of stuff, not glass related. So it really needs to be a place with like a camera or some sort of not surveillance, but just lighting and some sort of oversight. But we would love to donate a glass recycling container in Mountain Home somewhere if you guys find a spot. It's a heavy material, and a lot of people emotionally like to recycle glass because it's heavy and it feels like it's got value, so we can recycle glass bottles and jars, and I think if we had it, we used to have it in town and on the base, and then it went away, and then we found markets again, and so we're happy to bring that back if you guys find a site that you'd like us to put a container at. So it's also a good opportunity for bars to recycle glass bottles, and restaurants too if they want to. So another update, spring cleanup is coming up. Each year we have a week when residents can put out like pretty much everything in their house that's a bulky item. We take it if it's non-freon for free. It's gotten tricky because not everyone has the same week available. And so what we've done in like Meridian and Boise is we've shifted to like mini spring cleanups for every household. So instead of having a designated week, we say you get 10 bulky items a year. And this would be an option for you guys too. So let's say you don't want to have the first week of May as your spring cleanup, and you want to do something in the summer, and you all of a sudden have a mattress and a broken chair or whatever. You can call us and say, hey, I've got 4 bulky items and I'd like you to send the rear load truck to come and take these away. And the nice thing about doing something like that is you don't have to have it on one, you're not allowed like one day to do that. Like you have 10 items, bulky items, and you can use those anytime. So it's just something to think about. It's worked well in other communities, and sometimes we get feedback like, oh, that's when I'm on vacation or whatever. And so we want to just offer that up if you guys want to do that. We just push out information so everybody knows. They could still choose the first week of May if they wanted to, but they can also choose any other date if they would like. So it just opens up the options for residents and to spring clean or fall clean or do whatever they like there. And I think that was it. Landfill, spring cleanup, glass recycling, and state of trash. And then donations, yeah, we're happy to always entertain, new nonprofits or things like that in town as they start to grow here. So do you guys have any questions?
Councilman Brennan?
I'm not sure if it's for you or city staff, but I'd like to ask on the record, do we know a date for our next hazardous materials day cleanup? No.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Tim.
at this time, we don't have a date scheduled.
Okay.
So we would work with Republic to get that scheduled. Typically, it's in the fall.
In the
is when
fall.
we've done it.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
Mayor. Councilman Harjo?
So for some context, Rachele and I had a great conversation at their open house regarding the Sawtooth facility. One of the topics that came up there was the access to recycling. Since those recycling bins have moved farther and farther away from the core of our community here and are located at the Bennett transfer station. I wanted to kind of gauge your and the city staff's ideas or like appetite for finding a place to bring those closer to town. I'm like the shining example. At one point I had like a heaping pile of cardboard that I was saving from my shop and the house and everything in the back of my truck, and make the big haul out to the transfer station and unload it. And that really got me thinking that day about, well, how accessible is this for everybody? Not everybody has a big ugly truck to do dump runs. So at some point, if you guys wouldn't mind mulling that over, don't need an answer today. If that's something that you'd be willing to discuss, possible locations, how that would be formatted. Obviously, in having some talks with Rachele and having some talks with like Deb Ireland out at the Bennett station. Those are the same concerns. The bulky items that don't belong and that kind of stuff have ended up in those sites when they were unmanned or unmonitored. So there's some challenge and hurdle that might stand between that and being able to deliver it. But if you guys have an appetite, I'd love to discuss that at some time. So.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Whipple?
have you guys ever entertained the idea of having yard waste bins?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman Work. Yes, we have. We used to have a yard waste program, and it was actually at the old Bennett Road landfill, and then there was an underground fire that got started there, and with landfill fires they start whenever they get oxygen, they flare up, and then they'll stay dormant underground for a while. So that was shut down. I bet that was when Mayor Rist was still here. So it's been a long time. We would just need a spot to compost it. So, it takes windrowing and turning. So there's some work involved with that and some costs, but we can absolutely bring our proposal forward to look at that if there's some interest in that. Yeah. I can tell you, in other area communities, like in Boise, we get about 75 pounds per household per month of green waste. So it's everything from your produce scrap in your kitchen to tree trimmings and lawn clippings and things like that. What we found is let's say you generate 200 pounds of solid waste per household per month. Let's say 25 of it is recycling and 175 is trash. What we found is when we added compost, the trash, we kept 25 on recycling, and then the trash dropped to maybe, 150, but it didn't drop down. We gained 75 pounds. So we're like, wait, now we have more material. What happened here? But what we found is people just took better care of their yards. They just had more access to do it. You rip out some bushes or people just got after it. And they started generating way more green waste than we thought they would, than they were throwing away. So it's kind of a weird phenomenon. But yeah, people really appreciate it and like it. So yeah, I can bring back a proposal if you're interested in that.
Thanks.
Anything else, Council? All right. Thanks, Rachele.
Thank you, you guys. Have a good week. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the presentations by the members of the Military Affairs Committee, we got Connie Clark, the president, and Will Marshall, board member.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Hello, everybody. We went to Washington, D.C., Pentagon, and Langley Air Force Base last week. And so we just wanted to tell you about what happened there and the information that we have to bring forward. So thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the recent advocacy trip with the East Coast, where myself, Marty Anderson, Mayor Sykes, and retired Brigadier General Will Marshall met with senior leadership at Langley Air Force Base, the Pentagon, and with members of Idaho's congressional delegation. Our trip focused on strengthening support for Mountain Home Air Force Base and ensuring our community is postured with the projected mission growth. We discussed critical priorities related to infrastructure, quality of life, and long-term sustainability, both for the base and for the city of Mountain Home. As a result of the Air Force exercise in late 2024 and the establishment of the new deployable combat wing structure, 300 new personnel for mission support and their families are expected to arrive at Mountain Home Air Force Base in October 2025. The Chief of Staff of the Air Force was pleased to report that more people rushed to volunteer for a short notice assignment than they originally requested. Testament to both the mission and the Mountain Home Air Force Base and the reputation of our community. A formal site survey will be conducted in Mountain Home Air Force Base June 3 through 5 to evaluate installation readiness and the community's ability to support projected growth. We have requested a final report from this assessment, and the MAC will provide the updates to the City Council once it becomes available. The base has a high probability to grow by approximately 700 further personnel and their families by 2027. This includes the addition of one new squadron in 2027, primarily due to the divestment of the F-15E aircraft from Lake and Heath, United Kingdom. The growth isn't just military, it's community-wide. With it comes an estimated $11 million annual economic impact, which will ripple across our local businesses, housing market, and schools. But to fully realize these benefits, we must prepare and we must act now. As we look ahead at the arrival of hundreds and potentially over 1,000 new military personnel for their families to Mountain Home, we are reminded that growth is not just about numbers, it's about people, it's about preparation, and it's about the kind of community we want to be. The mission assigned to Mountain Home Air Force Base are growing rapidly. This is an incredible opportunity, but also great responsibility. The success of these incoming missions depends not just on the capabilities of our airmen, but the quality of life as we as a community can offer them and their families. During our East Coast trip, we carried a clear and unified message. Mountain Home is ready to step up, but we must also be realistic. We need to plan ahead and we need support. We emphasize two key focus areas that are absolutely essential to make this transition a success. We must continue to address our housing supply and infrastructure. Incoming families need access to the homes that they can afford in neighborhoods where they can thrive. This benefits more than just military families. It boosts our local economy, strengthens our tax base, and supports small business growth across the board. Our schools are at the heartbeat of our community. With an expected rise in military-connected students, we need to ensure that our educators are resourced, our classrooms are ready, and our kids, all our kids, get the support that they need to succeed. We expect an increase of approximately 400 to 500 students across our school system. Our schools must be prepared with enough teachers, classrooms, and resources to serve every student, military and civilian, without compromising educational quality. The Air Force has approved a new child development center. That's going to be on base, with construction expected to start later this year or early next year. While this will address the needs of infant and toddler care for the current and potential increased base population, quality preschool is another area in which we need to grow capacity in our community. We met with the Idaho's congressional delegation to advocate for federal and state assistance. Our message was clear. Mountain Home will need resources to expand and strengthen its infrastructure to accommodate projected growth. We specifically highlighted the importance of investments in wastewater systems, utilities, and road improvements, ensuring the expansion does not place an undue burden on our local taxpayers. It is important that we work together to encourage incoming personnel and their families to live right here in Mountain Home. When they choose to live locally, it strengthens our community in meaningful ways, supporting our small business owners, boosting school enrollment, and generating tax benefits that directly support homeowners and public services. This is not just a military issue, it's an opportunity for long-term economic growth and community vitality. Supporting our Supporting our military means that welcoming new missions, it means creating a community where service members and their families can truly thrive. Encouraging them to live here in Mountain Home rather than commuting to Boise allows them to spend less time on the road and more time with their families. With the rising cost of transportation, commuting can quickly add up both financially and personally. Mountain Home offers more affordable housing options, shorter commutes, and a tight-knit community that values and supports its military neighbors. When airmen live where they serve, they are better connected, more engaged, and entire community benefits. Mountain Home is positioned to play a leading role in the future of the Air Force operations. The partnerships we cultivate today between the city, the base, and our regional and federal leaders are essential for long-term success.
So, that was a lot.
Yeah.
We threw a lot of statistics and data and facts at you guys, and so for me, the big takeaways was that deployable combat wing. So quintessentially, and correct me if I misspeak, you two, there's going to be a deployable combat wing, and then you'll have a base commander with that wing, and then that one can leave anytime, anywhere, get into the fight anytime, anywhere, but it's a kind of a cohesive. But they needed, like you said, 300 additional personnel, which is about a $3 million economic impact to the city, starting in October. And then the fighter squadron. So a lot of people, the MAC has done a very good job at advocating not having the 220 engines or the 389th get divested. Currently. Now, we're not saying it's not going to get divested, but they're going to move the Lake and Heath jets possibly to make up for the 389th, right?
That's the current plan right now. The Air Force's plan is as they divest the 220 jets, which they're going to need to do at some point in time. That's an inevitability. When they make that move, the plan will be to take at least one of the two squadrons out of Lake and Heath and move those here to replace the 389th. So replace the 389th 220 jets with 229 jets coming out of RAF Lake and Heath. And that will likely be an iron moves, and then the personnel will kind of move throughout the normal PCS cycle to accompany that.
And that's in 27, 28?
It's the current plan.
And then that's a 700 personnel plus up, which is about a $7 million economic impact to the surrounding community. And then the Codell takeaways for what I got was the potential. So we talked to Senator Simpson's Patty. What was her name? Peggy. And we talked about the appropriations. So obviously we all know that the PSMI for the Stevenson's Elementary was supposed to be on the PSMI for this year, 2025, but due to the CRs, the continued resolutions that the federal government's doing, it got stopped, right? Is that how we understood it? But then now he's going to try to put the school back on in 26, and then hopefully that gets pushed through Congress, and then the school can get the 6.6 million, the 20%. What we needed to fund that school out there, and that'll be a K through 6 instead of the K through 4. And that school out there has got phenomenal, I would say, educational teachers out there, the phenomenal staff. They're like one of the top schools. Now the infrastructure might be a little old, but hence that's why it was the #1 school rated in the nation, if memory serves me correct. But with that appropriations, it doesn't mean that the city of Mountain Home can't ask for help for funding for our wastewater. So that was a huge takeaway, I think, that we got that we didn't know. So the answer is always no unless you ask. So that was a huge takeaway, I think, from my standpoint.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. They said they had some set aside for infrastructure, and so the more we can explore that, the better.
Let's see here, and then we discussed the potential for Mountain Home School District to pursue the design, and if awarded the funds, we asked if they could at least start doing the design now and wait for the funds in 26. That was a big, I think, a takeaway that we were trying to ask too. They don't do reimbursements, right? Is that what they said?
Do not.
Yeah, so that was part of the chicken and egg. You want to start the design, but then that comes at a cost too. If you know you're not going to get reimbursed, that's the hard pill to swallow, that one. So what other we got? What else we had for that trip? These are big key takeaways for the city of Mountain Home, the economic impacts, and the personnel that we'll hopefully be seeing here
Right.
shortly.
It's important to just know that we are on their sites and they are sending people, and so the best we can get ahead of that and prepare, the better. Those folks will want to stay as close to that base as they can, and so the better we're positioned for that.
We learned from Langley about some of the challenges that the military are having here with medical, and I frankly didn't know. What was the biggest takeaway that you thought? Well, that was.
There were two things that came up in our visit to Langley. The first and the harder one to fix is that TRICARE West, with the new TRICARE contractor, the reimbursements to medical providers are lower than average, which is kind of similar to Medicare. That creates a challenge to get providers willing to sign up to provide care under the TRICARE umbrella. A lot of people are able to get past that out of sense of patriotism. However, the new contractor's also been very late in reimbursements to payments. So medical providers are being paid less than they would get paid to serve a normal patient, and they're not getting paid for months on end, which is causing a lot of providers to choose not to provide services under TRICARE, which is a significant problem for us here locally because several years ago, the plan was to outsource a lot of our medical care for the military, to rely on the local community for those things like experts in specialty care. And so we downsized our military hospital on base. It's not a hospital anymore, it's now a clinic with limited hours and limited services. So if you need a specialist of almost any kind, that's going to be a referral. You have to go out in the local community. If you can't find a provider that's willing to take TRICARE, then that becomes a significant problem, particularly with things like behavioral health. Child psychologists are a shortage nationwide. We are not immune to that here, and so it becomes a compounding problem to provide that kind of specialty care. We engaged with leaders at all levels. ACC and the Air Force were aware of that, and trying to work. But we brought it up with all three congressional delegation teams so that Congress can bring some pressure to bear, potentially on DHA, because it'll ultimately be the Defense Health Agency as the contractor overseer that needs to address that. That's a longer term issue that we'll need high level help to help with. The other issue that came up with is that here locally, we are not positioned to collect sexual assault forensic examination kits. So when a sexual assault victim comes forward, if he or she chooses to have a safe kit collected as part of that investigation, then we currently ask them to go to Boise. So in one of the most traumatic experiences of someone's life, we ask them to get in a car, drive an hour, and undergo an extensive, long, very intrusive examination. Those are extremely important because I will tell you that having been a commander responsible for the prosecution of sexual assaults when it was still that way, forensic evidence is one of the strongest things we can bring to bear if we choose to go forward with the case. That seems like that's on a path to being solved. I met with the base sexual assault response coordinator today, and she informed me that we're pursuing a path to where a sane nurse, a sexual assault nurse evaluator would come down to St. Luke's to help collect that kit. We're going to need some help with St. Luke's from a space position to provide a space in order to conduct that examination. So that work is ongoing. So that's late breaking news as of today. Sounds like that problem may be on its way to being fixed, not only for the base and the base community, but also for the local community, because I expect those same challenges are faced by the local police officers in pursuing any kind of sexual assault kit.
Awesome. Council, you guys got any questions for Connie or Will?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I want to say I'm sincerely appreciative of you coming and giving an update. I'm grateful for that. Just clarification, you guys both mentioned with the, I might have the lingo wrong, the 220 jets leaving and 229s coming in, that transition is still a plus up of 700 military personnel?
Kind of depends on how the Air Force does it.
Okay.
And so there's 2 squadrons coming out of Lake and Heath. There could be a plus up of the additional 700 if both of those squadrons come here either permanently or temporarily. It could be more of a one-for-one swap to where the 220 jets leave and one of those squadrons come here from Mountain Home. If that happens, 220 jets leave, 229 jets come here, it would not be a 700 plus up. It would be smaller than that. Those squadrons are slightly bigger than the one here, so it'd be more, a much smaller number than that 700. There may be a period where there's some overlap to where they need to move the squadrons out of Lake and Heath in order to enable construction there. And if Seymour Johnson's not able to accept them because of environmental impact study concerns that are ongoing, there may be a time period where those squadrons are here temporarily until both squadrons are divested and going out. The Air Force's long-term plan would be that 3 to 9th would go away, one of the squadrons would come in here, and so that would be a much smaller plus up. There may be some overlap to where there's a greater number, or potentially that second squadron could come here, which would where you'd be seeing that 700 number.
Okay, thank you.
It was eye-opening, some of the things that I found out that I've been had privilege to sit with these guys, and so it was definitely food for thought. Anything else, council? All right, well, hey, thank you too.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we'll run down to the conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to, otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any items on the city council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature of contact.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I have a little list going here. And an email regarding TNR with Shannon Evans, and a subsequent meeting with our legal team, Shannon and Beverly King. Emails received from alleycat.org. Email and subsequent phone call with Jennifer Andrew, the president of the Bingham County Humane Society. KTVB has reached out for comment. And 2 emails from unsigned parties regarding TNR.
Copy that. Okay.
And email from Callie Dennis. Sorry.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Workla?
Paul. So we had this discussion before, right? Like, do we shout out the list of everyone that said, hey, TNR is great, but I'm not going to sign my name, or TNR is great and I did sign my name? Like, because you said that you have to disclose if it affected my decision, right? And how it affected my decision. So I have a list similar, but I just want to make sure I understood you correctly in the past, that if I did a list like this, I would have to say every single one, this is why it did not affect my decision on that item.
You don't have to do it with each individual entry, no, but, okay, the reason why a conflict of interest declaration is on an agenda at all is that those that have elected you into office expect you to render unbiased decisions based upon information that's received at a city council meeting. And so to the extent that you're receiving information that's outside of a city council meeting, the primary thing we want to know about is if you're being persuaded by something that's not happening in a public meeting, we want to know that. And you need to put that on the record, and then if necessary, recuse yourself from the decision making of it later on. Or, here's the information I'm receiving, I'm taking into account, but it's not swaying my decision whatsoever. I'm going to base my decision upon the information that's presented in a public meeting format. That's the goal. Now, how you get there, the courts are not exactly, the courts are more designed to tell you what not to do than what, like when you mess it up, as opposed to telling you how to exactly to do it. I think the best course of conduct is, it doesn't take that much out of a city council meeting to just say, kind of what Scott just did, is to say, yeah, I heard from this person, this person, this person. Sometimes what you guys don't necessarily do is say, here's all the information that I've received, here's the general context of what it was about. I am going to render my decision based upon what's presented at the meeting, and it has not compromised my ability to remain objective.
You have to kind of finish.
I think that's best, best practice is how to do that.
Okay, let's see.
Where the case law comes in is when, you go out and do a site visit, or you go out and talk to these people, and then you don't say a word about it, and then it comes out later, and then the whole decision gets tossed out later, and then there's actually some penalties for people that violate it.
Okay. Mayor.
Councilwoman.
So I did have a meeting with Jeff Schroeder and Councilman Harjo, Shannon, and Beverly King, right, on Friday. In regards to TNR, I got an email from, I think it was today, from Alley Cat Allies organization. There was no name on there. There's been a couple of emails that were not signed. So I don't know how to disclose that. Pretty much yelling at me, but this, have I had any more? I think that might be it for now. This has not affected my decision on how I feel about the TNR.
Copy that. Councilman Brennan?
I received a few correspondence as well through email. One of them was sent by Callie Dennis, but signed by, I think, the entire board of the Elmore County SNF. Just a PDF file. Another one of the few from Kren Zen. I'll put it on the record. Kren Zen at coolgdead@gmail.com, calling us seriously uneducated, misinformed, and stupid and idiotic. Appreciate that one. And then S-Truck, brooming1@gmail.com. Another one that people are hiding behind the keyboard with. So those are a few that I've received.
Okay. All right. We're going to run down to consent agenda. Councilman Harder, go ahead.
We have to make some corrections to the special city council meeting minutes on April 3rd. The executive session motion and the votes are out of order. So, your vote to terminate the agreement on the minutes reflects prior to your vote calling into executive session, and you held that vote outside of executive session. So I can, you can table those minutes, and I can bring them back on that special meeting that we're set to schedule that I'm asking you for a date on, if you'd like. That way you can cleanly see what I'm verbally telling you.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I think that's the logical way to handle that. Thank you. If the council will agree.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
so we did something wrong, is what I'm hearing? The process was wrong? Or the minutes reflected the process was wrong?
No, the minutes are just typed incorrectly, but
Okay, okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
for the council, some of the order of operations and how that night played out are just not in chronological order in the meeting minutes. The accuracy of what occurred otherwise is correct. It's just the order of operations as they chronologically occurred that night.
Go ahead,
So
Tiff.
to clarify
Oh,
for
sorry.
the record.
I could just hand this down. I track changes, it's the last 2 pages, and you can see the order.
Sure.
If you want to look at it and vote. I just don't want to force that.
Okay, Mayor?
Councilwoman Workla?
Yeah, I just want to clarify there wasn't an error in our process, okay? Because
No,
all right.
it's not the process.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
is this, let me take a peek real quick. You've already made the changes through track changes, right?
Correct.
It's just, you haven't presented it to us.
It's not what was in the packet, no.
Is it something we can change through interlineation right now?
It's my favorite way to do it.
Okay. Let me read it real quick.
Get too while we're at it.
Well, now it's out of order. I'm fine with just updating it now.
Okay, and the mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
was that it, Tiffany? Because I got it. I need to add something to the April 3rd special meeting. Did you say? Is that,
No,
okay,
that's-
I didn't want to interrupt you, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so on April 3rd special meeting, Councilman Brennan asked legal that since this, speaking of the military liaison, is not an employee of the city, and I'm reading from the minutes, but a contractual agent where they had the ability to cut this short as a council or if it was an executive decision. Legal said that he thought city council had the authority as they were the entity that had authorized the mayor to enter into contract, and they were also the ones responsible for the funds and approval of the budget. So how the motion went was Councilwoman Workla amended her motion to accept the military liaison's resignation effective March 14th, 2025, with an end date of April 14th, 2025, and the pay to end on April 14th, 2025. Councilman Harjo seconded the motion, and Councilwoman I, Garvey nay, Brennan I, Harjo I, and the majority of the vote being in favor, the motion was carried and so ordered. But then when you look on our bill run, it shows that the military liaison is getting paid through the end of the month. So the motion passed as pay was ending on April 14th. However, that's not reflecting on the bill run.
So I'll take the heat on that one. After our last meeting, we were supposed to put an action item from the council on this agenda. Per that conversation we all had, and I was gone, and Tiff missed it, I missed it. And so when she goes, hey, does the agenda look fine? I was like, yeah, sure. I was back in Washington when I was trying to look at it, so.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
we have a way to rectify this in relatively short order. New business action item number 5, setting a date for a special council meeting. That topic could end on that agenda. It's a short few days down the road. We could cover this then,
Okay.
if the council so chooses.
So he won't get a check until you guys approve it or disapprove it.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
we approved for the pay to end on April 14th, so I don't understand what's in question.
It is whether the council wishes to revisit that issue.
But has council,
I am not going to answer.
okay, has council discussed that they want to revisit this issue?
How do I answer that one when it was in executive session?
I just said I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the,
Here's how this will play out. Is Councilman Harjo made a suggestion as to whether item number 5, new business, can include also revisiting that particular issue. If there is 3 of the council members say, yep, let's put that back on, that's how it gets resolved. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And the decision of whatever that was, March 3rd stands. Or whatever the day that was.
April 3rd.
April 29th?
April 14th.
14th.
Whenever it was.
Sorry.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I would like to rectify this as an agenda item on whichever date we choose pertaining to action item number 5 on tonight's agenda, April 28th or April 29th.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
why can't we get it on, amend the agenda and get it on tonight's agenda?
Can we add it if it's not an emergency?
It is not an emergency, and so it doesn't necessarily require a true emergency, but it has to be a basis as to why this came up, and that you cannot afford to utilize 24/48 hours prior to an agenda item. And so I would recommend that we, because it is an expenditure of funds potentially, and there are there's no reason why we can't wait. Like, for example, sometimes when you have a bill going, by the way, it was due last Tuesday, kind of thing. Okay, well, let's approve this now. The New York accent was deliberate. And so, there's a reason why you have to do that. But
Well,
it could be timely on the 28th.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
I always respect your opinion, Paul, 100%. I was just curious because it's on the bill run that we
Is there a
supposed
but about the...
that we have to approve tonight. So to me, that was seeming not. It seemed that it would be urgent because we're approving this bill run for tonight, and it's on the bill run.
If Paula, Tiffany, or whoever is going to tell me that this is something that has to be paid now or not paid, then I would agree with you. If it's something that could be wait till the 28th, then that's fine too. I don't know the answer to that question.
It can wait until the 28th.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
Just for clarification, Tiffany, when you're saying it can wait, the decision on the 28th will be early enough to not affect the next cycle of paychecks that go out at the end of April. It seems pretty close to.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Tiff.
Paula, correct me if I'm wrong or jump in on it, but you could do it two different ways. You can
Mayor?
approve-
Hang on 1 second. Or can you hear?
I'm having an incredibly hard time hearing. I'm sorry if I just cut somebody off.
Oh, you're good.
I'm just trying to make sure, I think I'm hearing correctly, is that they don't want to pay the military liaison through the end of the month?
No. There's been a motion and a second to change action item number 5 to re-engage that conversation to pay Marty to the end of the month or to whatever you guys decide on. Because right now it was on the last minutes to pay him till the 14th, and so. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, and so that's right now, and then we put it in the bill run with holding the check, right, girls? Okay, and so that's what, and then on the bill run, obviously, if you see the bills, it has it in there as that. So that's where we're at, and there's been a motion to amend and a second to add it to the 20.
Date to be determined.
Date to be determined, but it was the 28th or 29th is what I was, right? Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilman Rubin.
Just looking for that answer as to
So
the when the bills get paid and paychecks get cut.
So ultimately, you can remove it off this bill run, which would lessen it that dollar amount, right? Or you can leave it on the bill run, and we're gonna hold the check pending your vote come that special meeting. If the vote is not to compensate him, then we have to void the check.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Garvey.
I am totally interested in hearing somebody, my fellow council people, one of your guys' compelling reasons to not just pay him through the end of the month. Mayor?
Because Mayor Sykes didn't look at the agenda with my glasses probably and forgot to add it to this agenda, or it would have been on this agenda. Councilwoman Workala? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman Garvey.
Mayor, thank you for that explanation. I'm interested in a statement from somebody of why we wouldn't just pay him 15 more extra days.
Councilwoman Workala.
Because if your last day is on the 14th, there's nothing in the contract that says you will get severance pay for 2 weeks of not working, but the taxpayer has to pay for someone for not working for 2 weeks. So why would we pay someone outside of their contract?
Councilwoman Garvey.
I'm pretty sure he's still helping in his knowledge. It's not severance pay. We're not getting rid of him.
There was a going away part, Mayor.
Hang on 1 second. Let her finish.
I know. I said.
No, I'm done. Yeah, no, I'm done. This is ridiculous.
So did you get your answer? Hang on 1 second, everybody. Did you get your answer answered? So Tiffany, sorry.
Brendan, Councilman Brendan, does that make sense?
It does. And Mayor, I'm not against this, right? But I think as a matter of procedure, the council voted and it was passed to hold it.
Okay.
So I'm not saying how I feel and what I will or won't do on the 28th. I think procedurally the right method is to hold the check until we meet on the 28th, or remove it from the bill run because it was already voted to not proceed. So remove it from the bill run, re-engage on the 28th for a final answer. I think procedurally that's the proper way.
Councilman Harger, you want to amend your your motion?
Mayor, that sums up the original motion.
Okay, so Councilwoman Workala.
I want to know, has he been working? Has he been working? That's news to me. Has he been working to the end of this month?
He's currently still working.
He's still, you had a going away party, but he's still working? He hasn't moved out of his office? And
Oh, he's
still
out,
working?
yeah.
Mayor,
Yep. Councilwoman Garvey?
he had a going away party because the council kicked him out 15 days early. So he's still going to be a humongous asset to the city of Mountain Home, to the city council of Mountain Home, to the military affairs community, to the Air Force Base. Like, just let him go with some grace and dignity and stop fighting about 15 days of pay. This guy has been a tremendous asset.
So there's a motion and a second. I'll call for the question.
Mayor, what is the motion, please?
Councilman Harjo?
Mayor, Councilwoman Garvey, the motion is to make an amendment to the special city council meeting, whatever day this falls on, that we decide later in our agenda tonight, either April 28th or April 29th, to confirm through the procedure of process to either vote to continue the pay through the end of the month or not. So all we're doing is taking this topic and setting it out on the 28th or the 29th.
Thank you,
And
Councilman Harjo.
pulling that line from the bill run for tonight's agenda.
So more.
Councilman Harjo.
Okay. So it's been motioned and seconded. I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Workala?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Nay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, council, is there anything that you'd want to change?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I'd like to make an amendment to our agenda to add a brief executive under Idaho Code 74206, subsection 1, subsection F, at the conclusion of our meeting. Oh, and B, sorry, F and B.
And B. Okay. And then was there anything else, Councilman Harjo, that you wanted to add, take off, or move around, or?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Obviously, we have a big topic around new business action item number 2. It's my opinion at this juncture, after meeting with legal, that we have not made enough headway to make the logical decision tonight. And I think it would behoove us all to set this out for another council meeting, whether that's whether that is the next regular meeting or the following. So our legal team has some time to go through not only Idaho code, our statutes, and then I have a pile of paperwork that I need to get to Jeff that he has not laid eyes on yet. So my request to the council is to table new business action item number 2 to either one of those, either the next meeting or the following, the next regular meeting or the following.
Council, there's a motion to add a executive, Councilman Harjo. I'm getting ahead of myself. Is there any other, like on the consent agenda or anything else on the old business, new business that anybody wants to? Well, I'll just go with that one first. Sorry, Councilman Harjo. So is the council all right to moving the action item number 2, a new business, to the next city council meeting or the following after that one?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workala?
Yeah, so because I also spoke with Jeff Schroeder, and because the meeting with Beverly and Shannon on Friday, he was able to get a lot of information for you guys, and it's just kind of hard to figure the best way forward over a weekend, right? So I do support pushing this out into May 13th meeting.
Councilman Brennan?
On that topic that you asked about, I'm ready to proceed. I don't feel the need for the delay. As typical, though, if another member of the council wishes to seek more time for their decision, I'm happy to support that.
Okay. So council, there's not a motion. Oh, that is a motion. Sorry. Is there a second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to pull action item number 2 in new business and to add an executive session F and B.
Sir,
Councilwoman Horkla?
to make sure that it's tabled to, we're pulling it, but do we need to put the date that we're gonna put it on, or May 13th?
You want May 13th?
Yes, please.
Okay. There's been a motion, a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna run down to the consent agenda.
Mayor?
Obviously, go ahead, Councilman.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I've got something on my, on my brain I'd like to talk. Can I take a second to address, Councilwoman Garvey?
You bet.
Councilwoman Garvey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm just going out of procedure because I could totally be wrong, but I feel like you misunderstood the last vote. I think you shocked everybody in the room with your vote. And maybe not everybody, sorry. But from my perspective, and Paul, if you'll correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have the ability to write that check or to hand that check over now because of the last vote of the council. And so to pull it off and re-engage, which was the motion, I think, I don't mean if I'm offending you or if you're going the wrong direction, but I think that's what you probably would have wanted to do instead of your negative. But
Councilman Brennan, I appreciate that. I'm going to be quite honest with you. It is extremely hard to hear you guys. I don't know if it's our new system or if it's the new phone system. I'm trying to follow very closely. And that might not have been my vote. I apologize. Councilman Brennan?
Yep.
My vote is not to do anything to Marty Anderson any more than outside of what's been done. You guys have known all along my stance on it, so I guess I thought the vote was to not pay him going forward. So
Just this.
I don't know. I'm sorry. It's very hard to hear you guys.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Councilwoman Garvey, you would have voted yes if you had heard it. I know what you're saying.
Thank you. Yeah, clearly I can't. I can't hear you guys. I apologize.
It's merely to talk about it on the 28th, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, I suppose it's probably too late to amend my vote, but
It
yes,
doesn't
I
matter.
still want to talk about
Yeah.
Marty on the 28th.
I didn't write it down, Councilwoman Garvey, so.
Hey, and you know what? Hey, Brennan, thanks for having my back, man. I appreciate it.
You bet, it's the right thing.
It's hard to hear
I really
Councilmember
appreciate
Harjo's 11-sentence motions sometimes.
Okay, we're getting off track. Okay, consent agenda, is there anything besides this special city council meeting minutes, the bill run that we're gonna fix, and move till
Whatever date
the date decided? Is there anything else on the consent agenda? I know it was a big, long one, all the way to E. Other than that, council, is there anything else? Hearing nothing, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with those corrections?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the aforementioned changes to the special city council meeting minutes and the regular city council, or excuse me, the scheduling.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Run down to old business, action item deliberation, decision regarding staff and legal edits to approve draft cooperative agreement between Elmore County and the city regarding animal control center and authorize the mayor, city clerk, and the chief of police to sign. And this has been continued from the 25th of March, sorry. Go ahead, Tiff.
Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted this to come back because staff, from the police department between Chief and Donnell added 2 statements to define some definitions, and that wasn't in your guys' motion coming out of the meeting on April 8th. Therefore, that's the reason it's back before you before it goes to the county for their review of it. And that is paragraph 1, strays and impounds are further defined in section 15 of this MOU, and D, where it says quarantine, is further defined in section 15 of this MOU. The rest of them were requested based off your motions. Unless you don't like the language, then I'll entertain all your edits.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I have 2 simple requests. I saw something in here that kind of caught my eye, so I did reach out to Danelle and got her buy-in on this. But if I could refer to paragraph 5, subsection C on page 3. The highlighted portion, I'd like to, I think I've done this before and I apologize, but almost break it into 2 sentences with 1 word change. And I'll read it. The MHPD supervisor has the authority to delay access to the facility based on existing circumstances such as pending calls for service. They have the ability to deny access based on medical or physical conditions of the animal. And there's tons of other references on here about space availability, so we're not addressing that. This is after regular business hours that the supervisor will delay access if they're busy, right? If there's something going on, they'll delay it, not deny it. And then a second sentence, break that up to say they can deny access based on medical or physical conditions of the animal.
Mayor.
And can I do one more?
Sorry, go ahead.
Paragraph, this is the one I was asking about last time. Paragraph 5, subsection B, the bottom of page 2. What it reads currently is during normal operating hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So I guess we need to change that into a full sentence, or just simply state the operating hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then as a second sentence, as that's written now, ECSO will provide pickup and transportation services of dogs to the Mountain Home Animal Control Center. That's all.
Councilman? Hang on one second, Councilman Harjo?
Mayor, thank you. Councilman Brennan, thank you. I honed in on that same aspect of language under 5C. I think your suggestions for adding the term delay for that and then breaking that sentence into 2 to cover each scenario independently is wise wording. Thank you.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Mayor, all I was going to say is, yep, I agree, and I make a motion to approve the draft agreement of the animal control MOU to send it over to the sheriff and county personnel.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Councilwoman Garvey, would you care to amend your motion to capture the previously mentioned suggestions of wording change?
Was your motion, we're copacetic with Councilman Brennan's words? Just those, yes?
Mayor, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Making Councilman Brennan's changes, yes.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Awesome. We're going to run down to new business items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. We're going to run down to action item number 3, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations of findings and facts to amend an existing conditional use permit with conditions requested by Idaho Power. Any questions, or all good with the Planning and Zoning Commission's of recommendations? Council?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Make a motion to approve the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation on findings of fact to amend the existing conditional use permit with conditions requested by Idaho Power.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
can I ask Brenda a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
She is
Hiding in
here.
the corner
Yeah.
over here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
For the record, I had an opportunity to call Brenda and ask some of these, but as it goes, I like to be transparent with everybody here. Talking about two citizens that came out in opposition. Well, maybe one in opposition and one neutral. Is that right?
One was neutral, yes.
One was neutral, okay.
One wasn't necessarily in opposition. They did feel like a better place may be suited.
Okay.
Or at least paused.
Okay. And this land, well, I guess let me clarify. The applicant is a 100% industrial use, right?
Correct.
And it's in a 100% industrial zoned area?
That's correct.
Okay. It's funny because it's on Industrial Road. So, if I'm hearing this right, some of the complaints from the citizens were a proposed future development will not go for it, so therefore they're against it. Is there a proposed future development that maybe you're not allowed to answer this? Maybe,
There's been nothing, Mayor and Council, there's been nothing submitted to our offices for a development on that adjacent parcels of land to the west. The gentleman that spoke that evening said he did have a non-disclosure.
Oh, he does. Okay. And then the development will be unsightly view from their balcony.
Correct.
Is that something that we need to let me that's nothing we can weigh in on, right? Like somebody's view in an industrial zone?
Mayor and Council, I do not believe that is. We've had many a development that come block of view, housing, for instance, is, as long as it's a allowed use or conditional use within that zone and it meets the parameters of the code, it's generally been approved.
Okay. There was no additional comments here, but this citizen also said they own 4 properties in the location. Is that an objection to the application? Or a statement?
It's just a statement.
Okay. Sound. I'd like to talk about sound. Is the applicant here?
Yes. The
May I have
applicant is
a
here
minute?
with us.
Come on up.
Thanks for coming, guys. I can keep it real.
I can step aside.
I'll keep it really short. Try my best. But in the topic of sound that was complained about, I understand that your project. Can you just tell me how you know that it won't break city ordinance on sound decibels?
Yes, for the record, Jeff Mafuccio with Idaho Power, 1221 West Idaho Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702. And then Trevor, if you want to. Yeah, Trevor Malum, also with Idaho Power.
Thanks.
So.
Your address, Trevor. Just kidding. I'm going to Jeff's house now.
That's business address.
We're closed from 6 to 6. We're open from 6 to 6. Generally speaking, and Trevor can provide more details if you have further questions, but generally speaking, we did modeling based on these types of facilities located elsewhere to get an idea of what types of sound they would generate at a fully 100% operational, right? Like pedal to the metal, going full bore, and then we take that modeling and apply it to the property boundaries. So we got readings with a minimal mitigation package or kind of mid-level mitigation package. So there's more mitigation that could be done to lower the noise sound levels, but we had them reading it modeled at 72 and 73 decibels. The city's ordinance has limits, thresholds of 75 decibels at night and 90 decibels during the day. And again, operationally, this is a facility where it can operate at any time, but likely to be operating at those peak afternoon hours, so more in the daytime than the nighttime.
Oh, okay. And so with those decibel readings and your model, is just for me to understand what a model is in this particular case, are you taking readings from a very similar site? Did I hear you say that? So it's
Yes.
real world data. It's not just a scientific guess.
No, so what we had an engineering firm who's built these facilities before.
Perfect.
So they work directly with the engine manufacturer and they know what the decibel ratings are from the equipment we're purchasing. And they have noise mitigation packages that you can put in, as well as in the building that's going to enclose the engines. We'll have sound deadening walls and things like that. So they know the attenuation that these different pieces on the power plant can deaden the sound, and they build their model based on that.
And then they did take measurements of this plant where it exists elsewhere in a similar type topography and surrounding land uses, and found that the decibel levels were lower than what was even modeled for this one.
Okay. We don't have our zoning map anywhere, do we? No. Okay. Can we work on getting one back in here?
You bet.
So it's light industrial around it, and then BLM's just to the north, and then it goes into county, and I think the nearest home is, was it about 1,000 feet away in county, or a little less?
Kind of where I was going. I think residential, significant distance away.
Yes.
Residentially zoned property.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 citizens talked about sound. I appreciate, that's all I have for you guys on that particular matter. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then, back to Brenda. It was said that there's a concern about sales
You suck at ice hockey.
for a local
You suck at
business.
ice hockey.
Keep that off the record.
Mayor, council, I'm sorry, can you repeat the
I
question?
might have called you up inappropriate. Maybe it's for Paul. One of the concerns from a citizen is about the sales. Concerned about sales for in the ditch because of noise. That's nothing we can take into account?
No. I mean, you're in an industrial area. I was at the P&Z meeting, and you're in an industrial area. The noise that was complained of is nonetheless within legal parameters. And so, there are certain maybe you wouldn't have those expectations in a residential area, but in an industrial area, if you believe sales are going to be impacted by the sound, it nonetheless is normal for that type of area. The comparison I always give it to is when somebody decides to put a subdivision next to a pig farm, and then they're complaining about the smell. It's like,
Right. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
not that it's a pig farm.
It's, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Sorry. Jeez. Run down to action item number 4, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts for conditional use permit located on West 7th South Street with requirements.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Just had one question. This is probably for Brenda too. Sorry.
Right, okay.
Paragraph 15, it says sidewalks are recommended to be constructed upon development of the parcel,
Yes, sir.
but it's in city limits, right?
Correct.
So recommended versus required. And then in the back, it says that they must follow like all city zoning, or maybe not zoning. Where does it say? Subject to that standard paragraph, subject to the site plan amendments as required by building, public works, fire, zoning officials to comply with applicable city codes and standards. So would be required to put a sidewalk in, not recommended?
Correct. It was probably a poor choice of wording for that, but they should be required to put sidewalk in.
And that, sorry, just, the ordinance does require it, right?
Yes.
Okay, then,
Go ahead.
Councilman Brennan, you can adopt planning and zonings with that verbiage of recommendation. However, the city council writes their own findings of facts, and that can be specifically outlined as required.
Okay.
And does that make sense?
Yep, that was going to be where I'd go with that. As long as that's clear in there, I'm for it.
So with that, council, what do you want to do with new business action item number 4?
Lost my agenda.
Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to approve new business item number 4. I don't have the language in front of me.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 5. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Mayor, do you mind taking a quick poll amongst the council to see which day works better for work schedules?
You bet. Council, what's the 29th? Hang on one second here. I gotta find a calendar here. I gotta figure, okay, 20, okay, actually, what day works better for the council? 28th, 29th? It's a Monday or a Tuesday?
Mayor.
What time is it? I know there's no time. Yes, sir.
Can I get clarification? I understand the second part that we made an amendment to, but between you and Tiffany, what exactly is this, the topic? I'm reading it. I got it back in front of me again, but what's the breakdown of this meeting? I'm sorry.
Mayor and Council, you have to adopt a resolution for your LID number 1 assessment roles, and that then has to be published and has to meet all the state statute requirements to begin the process of an LID for a public hearing. So basically, I'm shooting to have a public hearing for the LID for May 27th, and that's generated a back date to either have this special meeting, and if we don't have this special meeting, then the mailers don't go out and the public notice doesn't go to the paper, so we just prolong it more weeks, basically. So I picked a drop dead date at a regular meeting and then worked back with the attorneys to get to this date.
On the date we pick is what?
Will be published, that resolution adoption gets published that day.
For
The
future.
attorneys stamp it, yep, and then we move all of our other documents forward.
Okay.
And we have to have this assessment resolution approved before we can proceed any further.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mayor.
So, Councilman Harjo?
As a quick reminder, I think the majority of the council, if you have conflicting work commitments on either of those days, that we do have electronic attendance available.
I can do either one. Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
I can do either one.
So what one behooves everybody? She can do both. Councilman Garvey, are you good with either or?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
there is a Military Affairs Committee social on the 29th of April. That may not mean anything to anybody else, but Monday works best for me, but I will make either one.
Can I just say we've had to postpone that due to base commitments?
So Connie said that we had to postpone it due to base commitments.
Mayor?
Go ahead, Becky.
Either
Council,
date work.
Councilwoman Garvey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's fine, it's fine. Then either date works for me.
What time?
This says 5 p.m.
Oh, does it?
Mayor.
Oh, it does say 5. Okay. Yes, sir.
The Monday the 28th would be best for me, but I still might be a phone call in for that meeting.
So, council, Monday, 28th, 5 p.m., good. And if we need to do electronic, we can do that as well.
Yep. Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
I'll make a motion to arrange a special city council meeting to adopt the resolution for LID 1 assessment roll public hearing for Monday, April 28th. At 5 p.m. Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey? Awesome. Going down to final comment. Council?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
yeah, so this was on all of our desks. Is this something that we need to engage with, like add on to agenda item and discuss about open meeting law violations?
Not, well, Paul? No?
No.
I don't know why it's on our desk.
Okay.
I could just, at some point we could talk about it, yeah.
Okay. Executive session?
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206 F and B.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Executive session.